again. It's a Redskin.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to continue the topic of discussion in relation to the draft prospects for the Chicago Bulls. Today we're going to be talking about a player that actually a couple of days ago I believed either had an interview or a workout with the Chicago Bulls, and he did also play for Baylor. His name is Kendall Brown. So two players now we're going to be talking about that played for the same college. So very interesting indeed, and I want to talk about his positives and negatives and whether or not he could be an option for the Chicago Bulls to draft with the 18th overall pick. Now, before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls potentially drafting Kendall Brown with the 18th overall pick in the NBA draft. Is he someone that you would like with the 18th overall pick? He's not necessarily projected to go with the 18th overall pick or anywhere really near it, to be honest. But yet again, it is someone that is very interesting. He's listed as a guard here, ladies and gentlemen, and he's 6'8", so he's a very tall guard nonetheless, which is a positive in its own right, and it's something that, again, I don't think should be ignored in terms of what he could bring to the Chicago Bulls and what he could bring to any team with the ability to play at that guard position with how tall and lengthy he can be, which means he could probably play through multiple positions on this team. He could possibly play as a small forward as well, maybe even at some stages, even though he probably needs to get a little bit stronger to do this, could play at the power forward position as well. So definitely something you got to take into consideration. Playing 34 games for Baylor, he averaged 9.7 points, 4.9 rebounds, 1.9 assists, shooting 58.4% from the field and 34.1% from the three-point line. There are a couple of good things that comes to mind when I guess discuss Kendall Brown. If you watch him, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't call him a point guard, to be honest. He's more of an off-ball guard. He's more of a shooting guard, the way that I like to see him. And his expertise, and in my opinion, the biggest asset you could possibly give to him, and why I believe the Chicago Bulls would be interested in him, is the ability to play off the ball. In my opinion, out of all the players that I've discussed in relation to the NBA draft, there are very few that actually have really great off-ball movement, really great off-ball cuts. Some of them are decent, adequate at best. Some of them have to learn how to usually play at the off-ball. But this guy seems to get his bread and butter from being an off-ball player. A guy that knows when to cut at the right time. A guy that gets the ball and does some beautiful things with it when it comes to off-ball plays. He's very good at that. He's probably one of the best in the draft at that as well, from what I've personally seen. So I can clearly and completely understand why the Chicago Bulls personally see him as a potential option in terms of the 18th overall pick, just because of that alone, because we do need more players like that. Again, Javonte Green is a player that does that all the time. We know Alex Caruso can do that, but outside of those two players, there's not enough movement off the ball for the Chicago Bulls. So I understand completely why we would need to strengthen that side of the ball for us. It's an absolute need and necessity in my eyes. But again, AK's always talked about drafting the best available. We've seen it over the course of many years throughout the NBA. In terms of this guy being the best available, I honestly can't say with 100% certainty that I believe he's the best available, but it's up to AK to make that final decision. I don't necessarily see him as a point guard either. He does have decent, okay playmaking for his 6'8" guard, but at the same time, it's definitely something that I wouldn't say as a massive highlight for a guard position, the way that he playmakes in, I guess, for Baylor. He's definitely someone that I see playing as a shooting guard or a small forward on this Chicago Bulls team. Someone that's not going to have the ball in his hands a lot, but will be able to make plays, shoot the three at a decent level, and just be an off-ball player, which, again, I don't feel like is an absolute waste for the Chicago Bulls, in all honesty. I don't think we need another guy that can handle the ball, especially if Lonzo Ball is going to be healthy. You've got a couple of guys that know how to handle the ball and will handle the ball the majority of the time. Someone that can play as an off-ball player is very important in my opinion. So I can understand why we're looking at him, and I can understand where his best attributes are going to lie for the Chicago Bulls. Again, 34.1% from the three-point line. He didn't actually take too many attempts from the three-point line, 1.2 attempts per game for Kendall Brown. But looking at all of that, to be honest, 34%, he's definitely someone that when I've looked at his highlights, again, you can't base everything on highlights because plays miss at the end of the day. Highlights is literally watching everybody make everything. Of course, this guy shot 34% from the three-point line, so he's clearly missed a bunch of threes throughout his time in Baylor. But being able to make the corner three is a very important thing for me. And again, I think a couple of guys that we talked about might not be able to do that effectively. Maybe he can't do that effectively, but from the highlights that I've seen, he's not afraid to take and make that corner shot with, I guess, good efficiency. So that's something I'm very intrigued to see how we can adapt to the NBA level. Looking at some of the other positives as well, he averages 1 steal per game, 0.4 blocks per game. Not the worst defensive stats out there, but one of his weaknesses is his defensive end, in my opinion. I think he's the type of player that can slack off a little bit on defense or maybe just lose that concentration. Sometimes he plays a little bit too wild as well. So again, those are worrying signs for me. I feel like we do need a two-way player in terms of making an impact right away. But again, the best available is also based on potential and who's going to be the best at that point in time also. So Kendall Brown is a very interesting player. Of course, we've already talked about another Baylor player as well. So I guess the question now bears for me today, ladies and gentlemen, should we take Kendall Brown with the 18th overall pick in the NBA draft? As I said before, he's someone that can struggle on the defensive end, can struggle concentration-wise on the defensive end. And as I said a couple of times throughout this, I guess, all these NBA draft prospects that I've been talking about, look, it's about finding that balance between the potential that he has and, I guess, also the weaknesses that he has. So for example, his offensive potential could be massive for any team that he picks, any team that he decides to play for, any team that selects him, let's say. So you got to find that balance. Is that potential worth having a little bit of a player that lacks concentration on defense or is not really fully defined on the defensive end? Or do you have to find that balance between potential, between a two-way player, someone that can make an impact now? That's personally the decision I feel like the Chicago Bulls are going to have to make if they're going to make the best decision available. They're going to have to discuss that internally amongst themselves. So I guess that's the answer to the question, in my opinion. It's pretty much up to whether or not you see enough potential in Kendall Brown in the future to actually go and do something incredible with incredible efficiency, incredible potential, and could potentially be a long-term future starter for the Chicago Bulls for years to come. If that answer is yes for you guys, then I think the Chicago Bulls should select Kendall Brown with the 18th overall pick. But if you're asking me personally at this point, he's someone that is also fairly reluctant to shoot the ball at a high level. He's also a guy that can, I guess, not really be an effective shooter. Again, he's sometimes reluctant to shoot. That's one of the weaknesses that I found. And he's projected to go into the late first round. So I guess all of that being said, I'm not saying mock drafts are everything, but it is something to keep in mind. There are a lot of people scouting this guy and they see him as a late first round pick. That maybe he skyrocketed, maybe he hasn't. He is a very athletic 6'8" guard. So that's definitely something that you can't ignore. You can't turn your back on it whatsoever. And I can completely understand why the Chicago Bulls had that interview, and maybe there's something there that really does make me believe he could be a potential option. But I have talked about better players, in my opinion, people I'd prefer with the 18th overall pick. And I think I'm going to stick by that decision and say I don't think Kendall Brown is my first option with the 18th overall pick. Again, it's another player where if we select him, I'm not going to be upset, throw my toys out the pram, be extremely upset, cry and stuff like that. I'm not going to do any of that. But he's definitely not my first choice, and I've just got to be honest with you guys when I say that. That's going to be it today, ladies and gentlemen. Another draft prospect has been mentioned. Negatives and positives being discussed. My personal opinion on the situation. I believe this is the 10th draft prospect that I've mentioned today, and we still got a long way to go until that NBA draft does occur. We've got a lot more players to talk about, so stay tuned for more videos. If you're liking these videos, I'm really glad that you are. If you're not, again, I do apologize, but it's about the NBA draft now, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a very important decision to make in the NBA draft, and all I can do is provide the best information I possibly can and just hope that the Chicago Bulls make the best decision, even if it's trading the pick after we make that selection. As long as it's the best available choice that we can make, it's definitely something that I'll be very intrigued in I guess, whatever we decide to do. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. More videos will be made tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, so stay tuned for that. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.